that'll Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fertility Village Live. I'm Marissa, and we're so happy to have you guys here with us tonight. We have an incredibly special episode for you because I have my personal friends on the episode, so it's a little special for me. Today, we're going to dive into a powerful conversation about surrogacy, MRKH, and the extraordinary bond between mothers and daughters. And to help us explore this, we're joined by two amazing humans, Brianna Gill, and who many of you know from the account Growing the Gills, and the ultimate supportive mom, everybody's mom in the fertility
sweetheart,
Lou Ann. So thank you guys so much for being here. We are thrilled to have you, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are, what your story is, and what led you to share your story online. Why did you decide to do that? So I'm going to let mother and daughter fight over who's going to go first. So go ahead.
Go ahead, Bria.
I guess that's me.
Yeah, that's you.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight, Marissa. We're so excited to talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit about myself. My name is Brianna, and when I was 16, I was diagnosed with MRKH, which is a congenital condition most commonly characterized by an absent or underdeveloped uterus at birth. I'm a registered nurse. I married my high school sweetheart, Josh, in 2018. We have two hound fur babies, Nellie and Dixie. And in 2021, we decided we were ready to grow our family. We knew if we wanted biological children that IVF and surrogacy would be our primary option. And so we began to pursue that avenue. Our journey, as you know, Marissa, was a lot longer than I expected, but I'm very happy and so fortunate to share that last August, we did welcome our beautiful daughter, Marley, into the world. So she just turned 9 months old, and it has been the best 9 months of my life. In terms of deciding to share my story online, I feel like I just got to a place where I got really tired of hiding this part of my life, especially after Josh and I got married. The questions on when we were going to start a family and have kids just seemed never ending. So I thought if I put it out on social media, it would kind of be a mass way to let friends and family know what was going on in my life. But then I thought, bigger picture, it might also be a nice opportunity to possibly connect with others that also have MRKH, also pursuing IVF and surrogacy, and really a good opportunity to provide education around that as well.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yes, and I love your account. It's one of the first accounts I ever followed.
Thank you.
And very educational because I really didn't know what MRKH was before. And I feel like I learned so much from you just having conversations with you, but also seeing what you're posting online. And it's niche, right? Like unless you know or you know someone that has an MRKH or you have MRKH, like why would you know?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's very wonderful to see that people are sharing. And I like what you said that you thought of sharing to kind of blanket share with your friends and family, and then it ended up transforming into something else. It's a really good way of thinking about it. Like instead of calling everybody or answering questions over and over, it's just on there and everybody
Yeah.
knows that way. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lou Ann, your turn.
Yeah, so I'm Lou Ann, Bria's mom. So my husband Dan and I, we have two daughters, Bria, of course, and our youngest daughter, Dana. We're always grateful to have our son-in-law, Josh. He brings the humor to our family and definitely needed that in this journey. And of course, Dana's boyfriend, Chris, rounds out the adults. And now we're also proud grandparents, little Marley. So that's been, I can't even describe that, but yeah. When we're not with family, Dan and I love pickleball and all things fertility related. And again, spreading the word about, educating people about fertility issues, just women's issues in general, just women talking, sharing their stories.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, Lou Ann is like so supportive within the community. Like if you follow Brianna or you have a fertility account and you know Brianna, you know Lou Ann because she's always there cheering everybody on the sidelines and participating and commenting and engaging. And so it's really nice to know because sometimes, different generations are not on social media or they have social media, but they don't really connect and engage. And you're so engaging and so supportive through social media. And it's nice to see people from other generations coming and supporting and knowing that, it's not always because there is this thought of like older generations sometimes don't understand because it was very different when they were trying to have kids.
For sure.
You are involved and you are like participating and supporting and you're always there is just so nice to have that like figure for the community. So it's really nice. And
thank you.
To you, we very much appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Marissa. I just started following Bria's account, of course, and you see people commenting and offering support and then they would share their own stories. So naturally you just feel, compelled to support them too.
Yeah.
And, we've had lots of conversations and that's just kind of how that came about.
You're the fertility community's mom. You are.
There we are.
Yes.
Well, that's an honor.
Yes. Okay, Brianna, question. Can you bring us back to your MRKH diagnosis? Because like, I can't even imagine being a teenager thinking about which movie you're going to see on Friday night and being told by a doctor that you don't have a uterus. So can you kind of walk us through what that was like and what were your thoughts after that? Did you think of motherhood or what? Tell me. Just explain.
So when I was 16 years old, I still hadn't gotten my period yet. And that was my only symptom. And that was the reason my mom thought that maybe it was worthwhile to go see a doctor. And I can vividly remember going to several different doctors and having different diagnostic tests done. But yet it all kind of seems like a blur, if that makes sense. When I did receive my MRKH diagnosis, it was completely earth-shattering for me because I immediately knew that I wouldn't be able to conceive. And becoming a mom was something that I've always known I wanted to be. And I remember just feeling like physically sick and just riddled with anxiety because something that I was so sure of for my future all of a sudden became like this huge uncertainty regarding if I would be able to have kids someday or not. I feel like it was also hard for me to come to terms with because I just had this expectation of how my life was going to play out and how family planning was going to go for me, just based off what I learned in school and just like societal norms. You just assume you're going to be like everybody else. And you know what I mean? So to all of a sudden realize that that wasn't going to be how my story was going to go, it took a long time for me to come to terms with that. And there were definitely also feelings too of like, I felt like my body was failing me. I was scared of the unknown. I was afraid that I might end up alone. So there's lots of that I vividly remember as well. But then after a period of time, I feel like I was able to just sort of put it on the back burner for a little bit. I think in part because I was just in denial, but also because I was 16. Like I knew I wanted kids, but I didn't want kids in my imminent future. I was still in high school, and then I went on to university and started my career. Like I just always had something to keep me occupied. So I was able to just out of sight, out of mind, which did work for me for many years. And it wasn't until Josh and I got married that I realized I would have to finally face my diagnosis and work through those emotions so that I would be able to start planning our future and figuring out how we could make our dreams of becoming parents a reality.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. That's very interesting. And now, did the doctor give you any insight of what your future could look like? Did the doctor say, well, you're not going to be able to have kids? Or did he say surrogacy exists or uterine transplant? Like, I know it was, we won't age ourselves here, but I know it was like a while back. And so the doctor basically just say, well, you don't have a uterus. That's why you don't have a period.
Well, I was trying to ask Mom this. Like I said, a lot of it was a blur for me. And I don't really remember having a discussion with the doctor about specific family planning options for myself.
Yep.
And my mom can speak to it too, actually. But the doctor called my mom first to tell her the news.
Oh.
And then my mom told me. But I don't remember like specific conversations with the doctor.
Lou Ann, you delivered the news. Oh, now, cool. That was my next question. I want your perspective too, because I didn't know that you actually received the diagnosis first.
Yeah.
So how did you process that, and how long did it take you to tell her, and how did you tell her?
Well, I do. Yeah. I vividly remember the doctor calling me. I was at work and just to tell me the results of the MRI. Initially, there was some thoughts, a small uterus, 2 uterus, and then the MRI conclusively showed no uterus. So the doctor's telling me Bria had MRKH, and I'd never heard of this, and then I was frustrated that, they couldn't say why you had it. So that just threw me. Then you start feeling guilty. Well, was it something I did during pregnancy? Was it genetically, something we passed on? So as far as processing the diagnosis, definitely went through all those emotions. And for sure, the hardest thing ever that I have ever said was telling Bria she didn't have a uterus and wouldn't be able to carry her own baby. And I do remember telling you, and we were talking about it today, and Bria says, I don't remember.
No, I've blocked it out, I guess.
You know that you were told, but you just don't know how it happened.
Yeah. I just don't remember.
She doesn't remember.
No.
Yeah. And that's trauma, right?
Yeah.
And I said, I do you remember when you told Josh?
I vividly remember telling Josh.
Yeah. And then I think it was the next day you came home with a dozen roses that Josh dropped off for Bria.
Josh, man.
I know.
Best. Josh is, for those of you who don't know Josh is like a ray of sunshine. Like
he is.
Humor, always always knows what to say to make someone laugh. Like, that was going to be my next question for you. Like, when did you tell Josh, and what was Josh's reaction? But I guess his reaction was great because he brought you flowers. Wow.
Yeah.
As a teenager, that's great.
Yeah, I did tell him like pretty soon after
Yeah.
I found out.
You
Like
didn't
I
tell
didn't
any friends.
No,
No
I
one else.
felt like it was important to tell him though.
Yeah.
Just mindset being like, well,
Sure.
if he decides that this is too much, like then we'll end things now. But he was totally supportive.
You'd been
Like
dating about a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
He was totally supportive right from the get-go
Yeah.
and stuck with me ever since.
And that's all she wrote. Then you
Yeah.
got married, and one kid later, and all the laughs in the world to be.
Yeah.
That's so.
For
That's,
sure.
yeah, and he came home
Yeah.
with flowers. That's so.
Yeah.
One can only wish to have supportive family members and
Yes.
partners like that. And I'm sure like it was a big worry for you, even though you were young. That must have taken off a little bit of the weight, knowing that you had somebody that was
Definitely.
supportive and, you know, didn't think any different of you just because you didn't have a uterus kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was a huge weight off my shoulders
Yeah.
for sure.
And for Dan and I too, that, okay, you have Josh is, you know,
Yeah.
wants to stay by your side. And, you know, so we didn't have that worry because that was a bother, you know, worry for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you liked Josh a lot more after that too. You thought he's a great guy. Look at that.
Yeah.
Let's seal the deal for mom and dad for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
Luann, like I did not know that you told Brianna.
Yeah.
Wow, that's I just don't even know. I've never heard of a doctor.
Yeah, and I think we had signed something because you were 16. I
yeah.
think you did say you wanted them to call me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a consent sign there,
Mhm.
wasn't there? So I knew I'd be getting a phone call.
Yeah.
Definitely did not even research what could be, you know, the issue or didn't, you know, I was totally just blindsided by MRKH. Yeah, I don't remember the doctor really. We didn't go into, I think they did mention, you know, there's definitely uterus transplants.
Mhm.
It might have
not
been
in-
very new.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
in Canada.
No.
No. I immediately started looking up for help. The Boston Children's Hospital has an amazing MRKH program.
Oh,
They have really tons of information. And they do a conference every year.
Mhm.
And I remember asking you if you wanted to go to that, and you didn't. No. So I didn't push it. I, you know, kind of followed Bria's lead.
Yep.
You know, and 16, most 16-year-olds aren't family planning.
Yeah.
So it seemed reasonable to put it on the back burner. And, you know, all these years I've kind of wondered, should we have done more? And then last year when we were at the MRKH conference, I do remember seeing, there was a really young girl and her mom were there sitting in the crowd, and the daughter looked very uncomfortable, you know, and you could tell the mother was trying to engage her and she was just like, you know, wanting nothing to do with it. And they ended up leaving very early. So I think that sort of made me think, okay, yeah, at 16, that's a lot to process.
Yeah.
And if you feel, you know, you're protecting yourself better by just putting it on the back burner, then that's kind of what we went with, Avery.
Yeah.
Yeah, because really at 16, what could you do at that
Yeah.
point? Nothing.
Yeah.
And
No.
it's not like it's going to affect your health in the short term. And so,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you could live a normal life and you have to tackle that problem, right? And so,
Yeah.
I mean, as a 16-year-old, what are you supposed to do? And you did what you did, right? You supported your daughter with what she needed in the moment. But I'm sure you were ready when she was ready to start going for it, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, once you guys decided, well, after your Instagram account, and, you know, then as you'll speak to finding a surrogate, and, you know, totally we were behind you and Josh. Yeah.
So let me ask you this, because obviously I think that added like an extra layer, the fact that you were the one to tell Brianna, although Brianna doesn't remember. I just feel like there's something so sacred between the two of you about how you guys support each other, how you guys are as mother and daughter. It's so nice to see such a good relationship. How has the whole entire journey as a whole, the MRKH, the surrogacy, and now you're a mom and you're a grandma, how has that impacted your relationship as mother and daughter? Or do you feel like you're closer than ever? Or do you feel like, oh my God, mom, I can't anymore. I'm
Well, not yet.
How's your relationship now?
You better go first.
I feel like we've always had a really good and a really
Yeah.
close relationship,
Yeah,
like
for
even
sure.
before my diagnosis.
Yeah.
But going through this journey has only reinforced the fact that my mom is always there for me and always supporting me 110%.
Mhm.
She's just always has that constant and unwavering support. And it's just so comforting to know that she's always in my corner. She's my biggest cheerleader and celebrates every success, comforts me in every hardship. If Josh couldn't come to appointments with me, my mom would take time off work and drive me the 2-ish hours to the clinic so that I was never alone, which was huge for me, especially because in the start, I was terrified to drive the DVP in downtown Toronto.
Oh my gosh, I don't blame you.
Yeah, she's a pro.
I'm a
now.
pro now, yeah. But in the start, I was terrified. So my mom would always drive me, and we'd have to leave usually at like 4 or 5 in the morning to get there in time. Like, never hesitated to just like be there to help me. And I think now that I'm a mom myself, I definitely appreciate everything my mom has done for me that much more. And having a daughter specifically, I now understand that urge to, you go to the ends of the earth for your child. And I hope that Marley and I'll have the same type of relationship that my mom and I have.
Yeah, you will.
You will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you feel when in regards to Brianna, how she's evolved, how she is as a mother, and how she's tackled this whole entire fertility journey that, didn't expect, right?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, I mean, I'm definitely so proud of Bria and amazed too. To start the whole Instagram account, and as you know, Marissa, sharing everything, the good and the bad. And Bria did this, her journey was mostly through COVID and working at the hospital, in a really challenging unit at the hospital, and yet still being able to share, the story, and you were helping others. So, I mean, throughout the whole journey, I was just, amazed by, the strength. I knew Bria was always determined. If there was something she wanted in life, she worked hard and she would get it.
Yeah.
And this was just something you really had to work extra hard at to, put
And
it
we will
lightly.
get into that. Question for you, Brianna. Did your diagnosis of MRKH, did that have any impact in you wanting to become a nurse, or is that something totally separate?
I think it was just totally separate, or maybe subconsciously, again, like I didn't realize, but I've always had the urge to want to like help people. And I thought a nurse would be a good way to do that.
Yes, a very good way to do that. I mean, you're right there. And you worked all throughout COVID as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And you did a round of IVF during COVID, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Which is insane, because that was, I'm sure, a very difficult time. Well, it's always difficult, but I'm sure extra difficult. And then IVF adds an extra layer. Let's get into your IVF journey. So obviously people who watch, who have done IVF, know how difficult IVF is, and know IVF is not a guarantee. But give us kind of the timeline and the storyline of your IVF journey to your surrogacy journey and everything it took to get to little girl Marley.
So we began in 2021.
Okay.
And we were very fortunate. We had a family friend reach out and offer to be our surrogate, which was a huge win for us because that was something I was worried about having to try to do. So once we had her in our corner, I was able to do my first round of IVF. I think August 2021, maybe. And that resulted in 5 euploid embryos. And I vividly remember the doctor laughing, saying he was so impressed that all of our embryos tested genetically normal. And did we want 5 kids someday? Because that's how many embryos we had. And I just was like so confident that these 5 embryos would like be all we needed. We did 2 transfers with our first surrogate. They both failed. Our surrogate at that point had some things come up in her life and needed to step back from our journey.
Yep.
So we had to find a second surrogate, and we did 6 more embryo transfers total. I, of course, only had 5 embryos, so we did get down to 0 at one point. I had to do 3 more egg retrievals in 2023.
And you did a stem, correct?
Yeah, I did a duostem and a triostem. Yeah.
You want to explain a little bit of what that is, just for the people that have no idea what a stem, any stem is. Yeah.
It's basically you're doing back-to-back medication, like stimming your ovaries. So there is absolutely no break in between your first egg retrieval and then starting meds for a second egg retrieval. And my doctor thought that that would be good for me because I do have lower ovarian reserve. So it's a good option for to increase the number of follicles that you are growing. And it did work well for me. But it was a lot. You know, my duo stem was 21 days of injections, I think.
Ooh.
And I think 56 injections total, maybe just for that one round.
Woo!
So it was a lot. And then to do the trio stem, it was a lot, and I wouldn't want to do it again, but I was very determined. And if this was going to give me the best chance at getting those precious eggs out, I was going to do whatever it took. So we did do the 3 rounds of IVF or egg retrievals back to back. And then, a total of 6 embryo transfers with our second surrogate before finally having success. And, it was a lot.
It was a lot. I remember the day that you messaged me and someone else on a group chat, and it was just a picture of a pregnancy test. And oh my God, I think you called us, and I was just freaking out on the phone. And so our other friend, and it was like one of the, it's funny because you meet people online, follow them on Instagram, and I had met you in person, but you meet these people online and you never meet them in person, but you never want somebody to be so happy that you've never met before. You just want them to have a baby, and to have what they want to have. And it's just, I think a lot of people, because everybody was following your journey, right? You had so many people, once you finally posted that amazing news, that were so over the moon for you. And it was like every week you posted your little fruit or food item that was tied with your baby, which was so amazing to see. And just like seeing Marley grow up, it's so nice. IVF is not a guarantee. Surrogacy is not a guarantee. And you work so hard for it. It's definitely a miracle, but it's also a lot of work that you put into it. And finally reap the benefits of that. It's just so amazing to see. And now you have this little bundle of joy over here. 9 months out. That's crawling her way through your home. And how are the dogs?
They're pretty good. Nellie will tolerate pretty much anything.
Okay.
Marley climbs all over her.
Yeah.
Dixie, it's very much on her terms. Like she'll approach Marley, but she's not a fan of Marley just attacking her.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah. I get it. It's
sticky
fun.
hands, and she's just
Yeah, that's so great. And thank you for sharing. I know like sometimes it's hard to kind of repeat the same stuff over and over again, especially when it's such a long and difficult journey. So I appreciate it. Tell me, Brianna, what would you say to somebody in their teenage years that was just newly diagnosed with MRKH? What would your piece of advice to them be, or just some kind of wisdom that you would bestow upon them?
I think I would tell them to make sure they take time to process, to grieve, feel whatever emotions you feel. Everyone, when they receive that diagnosis, not everyone will feel the same way, but whatever you're feeling is completely valid. And it's important that you take the time to just acknowledge how you're feeling, give yourself grace. But I think it's also important to remember that although you might feel completely isolated, completely alone, you are actually not alone. I feel like when I was diagnosed, social media wasn't as big as it is now. So there weren't very many communities that I was aware of that there are now, but you're not alone. There is a huge community on social media of people that have MRKH, that are at different stages of life with MRKH. And it's just like, don't be afraid to reach out. There's so many people that are happy to share their story with you, and just really seek strength in other people.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean you have to necessarily make this public account and post your whole life on it.
No, yeah.
Everybody will be happy to speak to you. All you have to do is reach out from a private account, from an account that doesn't have, all the followers, or that's public or anything like that. Everybody is private at some point, right? Nobody starts with all the followers and all this content. So it's just basically reaching out and making that first connection, and then it'll lead you to a lot of other connections, right? Community is everything. We got a question from a viewer asking, how can I be more supportive of a friend with MRKH? So if you don't have MRKH, but you know of a friend that does, how can you be supportive towards them? What would you say as someone with MRKH?
I would say if your friend has, obviously they've told you that they have MRKH, I would do like my mom did and kind of follow their cues. It's not necessarily something you need to bring up every time you see me. But it's always something that you can keep in the back of your mind, and reach out every once in a while, ask how they're doing, ask if there's anything they might need or any way that you can help them. Specifically too, thinking like when I told my friends and family that we were ready to start pursuing IVF and surrogacy, just having people reach out every once in a while, offer to bring us a meal or drive us to the clinic, or just like small things like that really did make a huge difference. I didn't want to feel like I was abnormal or different in any way. Especially as a teenager, I just wanted to be normal, which is why I didn't tell anybody when I was that young. So I think too, just don't treat them any different. They don't want to be pitied or looked at a different way. They're just same old friend.
Yeah. And as somebody who also, pursued surrogacy, not even IVF, surrogacy in general, you had to do IVF to do surrogacy. What's something that you would tell someone who's just at the beginning of their surrogacy journey, MRKH or not?
I would say,
onion. You have a lot of layers to peel back. You have the MRKH, the IVF, the surrogacy. I'm sorry, I'm asking you every step, but it's because you have so much knowledge. We like it.
That's okay. I would definitely. I say this because I don't think I realized this when I started my journey, but there is a lot that is outside of your control. And I am someone that loves to be in control. I like to, if I'm doing XYZ, this is what's going to be the outcome. Yeah. I don't like uncertainty, which is hilarious because I feel like that's all IVF and surrogacy
Someone
is.
told you.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a lot outside of your control. It's incredibly frustrating. So therefore, it's really important that you find the right people to help support you on your journey. Find the right fertility clinic, find the right reproductive specialist, find your perfect surrogate match. It's just so important that you find people that you can easily communicate with, you trust 100% to help make that loss of control just a little bit easier to go through. And I would also say don't lose sight of your end goal. Like for me, people always ask me, how could you go through 8 transfers? Like, how did you keep going? And I'll never forget, it was after we took a step back and needed to find a second surrogate. I was talking with a friend who has also gone through IVF and surrogacy, and I was just feeling really down. I felt like we were back at square one. And she said, take time to feel the way you're feeling, but you won't reach your goal if you don't keep trying. And I just really held on to that and kept reminding myself after every transfer, like, if we don't find a new surrogate, if we don't keep transferring embryos, if we don't make new embryos, there is absolutely no chance that I can just get pregnant on my own. So therefore, there's absolutely no chance of us having a biological child if we don't keep going.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's also really important to make sure that you take care of yourself and make time for yourself, because there were countless times where I felt like, it really is like a full-time job going through IVF and surrogacy. And there were countless times where I felt like I was losing myself. I wasn't finding joy in my life anymore. I was just so focused on our journey and next steps. So I think it's really important to find a balance between, yes, continuing on to your end goal, but also making time to find joy in your life, do things for you that make you happy, plan fun things to look forward to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you're 100% right. And you had a mission and you were on your mission, but you also lived life during your mission. And it's okay to have moments of, burying yourself in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Staying at home and binging Netflix and being upset. But also it's important to live your life throughout that. It's all a balance. It's okay to be upset, but you have a mission and you have to keep going. And then if there's people out there, if they decide that is no longer their mission and that they need to stop, that's okay too, right? Everybody's path is very different. I'm kind of more like you where, I have a mission and I need to go. And that's one of my issues. I have no stop.
Same with you.
I have no stop button. And I felt like I would continue to go and go and go and go until like I could physically no longer. Which is not always a great thing, right? It's not always good things. Sometimes we don't know our limits. But we did what we could do and what we needed to do. And that's why we are where we are. Okay, Lou Ann.
Yes.
Tell me, what is your advice for a mom who just found out, or a parent who just found out that their daughter has MRKH, infertility, reproductive struggles? They tell you they need a surrogate. I'm sure a lot of things go through your mind at that time. And I'm sure it's like, how do I support my children? So what would your advice be for other parents in similar situations?
Well, I think, as soon as you hear that diagnosis, you do need to take time to process it. And it definitely worked for us. I think it's important to follow your daughter's lead. It's their body, it's their choice how they want to, process the diagnosis when they first hear. If they want to keep it private, then, I think that's what you do. If they wanted to tell everybody, then, you support them with that too. You are definitely going to grieve, just that loss of ability for your daughter to carry her own child. So you need to process that too. But I also, you can't dwell on the diagnosis, especially when you find out at 16, they're just starting their lives really. So, I think you need to just try to focus back on life. Life is carrying on. Life is happening. So you pick yourself up and try to be as supportive as you can. When it comes time to actually start their journey, that's where you really, I think, step it up And as Bria said, you do the appointments, you be there to chat, just a shoulder to cry on, the dinners, anything that you can do to help. Mothers, we just automatically want to fix things. That's just the way we are.
Yeah.
And this is a tough one to fix. You can't do it on your own. Takes the village, right? Takes all the support. The fertility clinic, like you mentioned, you have to encourage them to really find the right clinic and doctors, the whole team that they feel good about. And then, of course, Instagram, sharing the journey for Bria, I think was life-changing for you.
Yeah.
And, meeting people like yourself, Marissa, and you've been such a great support and inspiration for Bria. I think she would have been lost without that support. Honestly, that filled a gap that I couldn't fill. You were going through things as well.
Yeah.
And you two could, share stories and you and the others as well, right?
There's something different about somebody that's actually walking a similar path to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I think, and like you said, you don't have to put your whole story out there, but just encourage your daughter to, seek help, through, look at the Instagram accounts, and there's so many people out there willing to help. For sure. So, that's what I would tell parents. It's going to be a journey for sure. And I'm always a positive person and, love life. And so you just kind of got to, make sure you take care of yourself as well. You have to, like Bria mentioned, look for joy in your life. And you have to have something fun to look forward to, right? We found that's always helped. A friend of mine told me that, and I think it was after the 7th failed transfer. That's September.
We were in the 2-week wait of my 7th transfer, and I said to my mom, I said, if this transfer doesn't work, we're booking a girls' trip to Italy. And I just said it like we've always talked about going to Italy, but I just kind of said it like not thinking anything. And then sure enough, our transfer failed. And then that Christmas, you surprised us.
Yeah.
A trip to Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember you and your sister all went, and it looked like a jolly old time. You guys looked like you were having so much fun. There was so much ice cream involved.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were fortunate that we, made that our something fun to look forward to, didn't we? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I remember booking the trip with the travel agent, and I will segue into fertility talk with anybody, anytime. We could be out shopping for shoes, and next thing I'm telling someone, Marley's whole story. And I always do that, don't I? Yeah. So I did tell the travel agent as well why we were booking the trip. This was, after a failed transfer. And anyways, and then it was so nice when I finalized plans that December, I told the travel agent, oh, by the way, Bria's surrogate's pregnant. And she started crying on the phone.
Oh my gosh.
So and then I'm crying, but tears of joy, right?
Yeah, of course. Because you get so invested in people's stories, right?
And
you hear all of this and you hear the heartache, and to hear that, it's happening. It's like, it's amazing. So that's
so
nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to the booking agent. Hi.
Thanks, Marge. Yeah, great trip.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. That's so nice.
And luckily, when we went away, it was knowing that Jen was pregnant.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So you went away knowing that.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we were like maybe 28 weeks along at that point.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a girls' trip, baby moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
All started after a failed transfer, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have some questions from some viewers. Some we already answered. Did you guys, well, I guess you kind of answered that right now, but did you have any rituals that you guys did to support each other during hard times? So whether that was like, okay, we're having a hard time, let's go to the mall, let's go have a bite to eat. What was the things that you guys always did to cheer each other up or cheer one or the other up when getting bad news or just going through a hard time?
We do like retail therapy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some days
Is there
though,
any better?
I know.
Talk
Yeah.
therapy is great, but there's nothing like retail therapy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes it was just like, after Toronto, no, let's just go home. Like some days that didn't even help. But yeah, we would do that.
Ice cream. Good food.
Yeah. Or just try to think of, just something else to take our minds off of, what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I have another question here. Are there any other symptoms that you know of that are related to MRKH besides not having a period?
I think that is pretty much the
Primarily?
primary. Yeah, there can be issues with the kidneys,
Mm,
and like skeletal abnormalities as well, like increased chance for scoliosis.
okay.
So someone might have symptoms like with either of those organ systems. But definitely not having a period is like the most common, like the most characteristic.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. All right. Thank you. Lou Ann, you mentioned a conference. And you said that there's a conference in the US, but also that there's a conference in Toronto. Can you guys give some information about the conference? I know Brianna spoke at the MRKH conference last year with Dr. Sharma, I believe.
Yeah.
And this year.
Yeah. This year they asked if I would speak.
Yeah. Look at that.
I was honored. Yeah. Like what? Just again, they just wanted my perspective as a parent. And when I was there last year supporting Bria, we love Dr. Sharma, of course. And she was there and I just met some other people and just, instantly started chatting with them. So yeah, they thought of me this year. So we'll be doing that in September. You have to come support me now.
I'm the support system.
I'm not a public speaker either.
Oh, I'm sure you will do a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. No. Yeah, that'd be fun. I still think we were talking today about going to the Boston conference.
Yeah, it would be fun.
We should look into that. I think maybe they'd even like to hear you speak. Yeah. As someone who's full circle.
Full circle, right?
Through it. Yeah. Because it's encouraging and motivating for the young girls, that are, I think they have the conference for 15 to 25-year-olds. So there could be, the 25-year-olds there that are starting to think about, their path to parenthood. Yeah. So that's something.
That there are these kinds of resources and things available for people. And again, unless you know about it, you don't know, right? Like I knew that there was an MRKH conference until I saw that Brianna was speaking at it. So it's good to note. I know, Brianna, you started a support group, an online support group.
Yeah. So just on Instagram, you can reach out to me directly at Growing the Gills. I also
all that information. We'll tag all the information for you so that anybody can contact you through there.
Perfect. Yeah, I have the post. It's pinned at the very top of my feed. It's just like a DM of a bunch of different people also diagnosed with MRKH, and it's just a supportive environment. Lots of people at different stages of life, some newly diagnosed, some are older. There's some people in the group that have gone the uterus transplant route and do have children. There's people like myself who have gone the surrogacy route. There's people exploring adoption. So it's a great resource for people to learn different avenues to becoming parents or just wanting general support on how to live with MRKH.
Okay. All right. And then any other resources that you know of online or anything like that? Is there anything else?
Well, like Mom mentioned, the Boston Children's Hospital does have a lot of great resources, specifically about MRKH. There's also MRKH Canada. They're on social media, another great platform to help educate and raise awareness for MRKH. they do also offer free support groups as well through their
sick.
platform. Yeah. So another great resource to have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have more. What are the chances? Do you know what the chances are that MRKH can be passed on? Is it a genetic condition that you know of?
They're thinking that there's a genetic component, but they haven't pinpointed what exactly that component is, if I'm not mistaken. And then the chances are it affects 1 in 5,000 people.
All
Women.
right. Okay. Okay. Interesting. And so I feel there's a question about this, and this is definitely a tricky question to ask. But do you have, the thought that maybe Marley could have MRKH, or has that been kind of not talked about by doctors or anything like that?
Yeah, as soon as we found out we were having a girl, it was like probably one of the first things that crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And I knew for myself I didn't want to be worrying about it for the next 16 years, just wondering, okay, is she going to get a period or not? So I actually did make the decision to do an ultrasound. I guess when she was 6 months old, we had an ultrasound.
Oh, I didn't even know that you could do that early. Wow.
Yeah, and again, I found out through Instagram. I know a couple of other women with MRKH that have daughters that told me that they had ultrasounds done. And she has a uterus, so I'm very, I mean, either way, like it would have been
took a weight
it did
off of your shoulders. That's I had no idea. You see, you learn something new every day, and I'm sure like that's such a good thing for people to know. Like if you have MRKH and that is a worry for you, you can have an ultrasound done and not have to worry for 14, 12, 13, 14, 15 years, right?
Yeah.
And she has a little tiny uterus in there. Oh,
She does. Yes.
Amazing. That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for answering. I know it's a little bit of a sensitive question, but for people that do have MRKH, I'm sure it's a fear that they have, will this be passed on? Will this not be passed on? And I mean, Lou Ann, you have a uterus, you had 2 daughters. And so Brianna not having, like, who knows what could happen, right?
Yeah, for sure. That was so important for you to find out. Yeah. And nice that you could find out so early.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this has been such an amazing conversation. Thank you guys so much for being so open and generous with your story and your feelings. You guys are helping so many people feel less alone. So you've already told us where you can find that support group. So all we have to do is go to Growing the Gills, which is your account, and it's linked there. Mama Lou Ann also has made her account public now. She is at, do you want to give us your Instagram name now?
Yeah, so it's Louie B.
Okay, and we will put that in there as well.
Yeah. So if there are anybody, especially moms, if you want to reach out, I'm always happy to chat. Always, right?
She really is.
She really is. She really is. And I do have to say it because I love Lou Ann's dog. Lou Ann has a dog.
Oh, yes.
Her name is Ruby. And sometimes you'll get messages from Ruby.
Yes.
Heartfelt. But it's Lou Ann. It's not Ruby. And sometimes you get messages from Lou Ann. And Ruby is the cutest.
Thank you.
And Lou Ann does such a great job making these reels and these pictures of of Ruby doing very naughty things. So if you want to follow Ruby's account, what is the handle for Ruby's account?
It is at Ruby Sue Cockapoo.
What a cute name. Come on.
I know.
At Ruby Sue Cockapoo, you get.
And Ruby Sue. So that was my little joy that I wanted.
Yeah.
Every day I just posted for a year. That was my goal. And I met so many wonderful people again. And I would also tell them why I started the account, because I was, needed to a little piece of joy in my own day, to just take a break from fertility world. And I've talked to other people there through that account that are going through their own fertility struggles.
Yeah.
So
It was your little outlet, your creative outlet.
Yeah.
Because obviously you were going through something as well, watching your daughter go through something,
for
right?
sure.
And so,
yeah.
We talked about that. I found that very interesting when Lou Ann and I were talking for one of the first times, and she said, you know, I have Ruby. She's kind of like my comfort dog, and then this account is kind of like my outlet to, you know, have something to do during this journey. So emotionally, that's so interesting. It's, you know, I think of like, we're going through the infertility, we're going through the journey, and we're doing this, but it does affect, you know, people that love us and people that care about us. And it's just
for sure.
so nice that you harness that and put it into an account for Ruby, and Ruby's the cutest. So
thank you.
Follow Ruby Sue the Cockapoo, right? No.
Ruby Sue Cockapoo.
Ruby Sue Cockapoo. She's the cutest.
Thanks,
she is
Marissa.
the cutest. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining. To everyone watching, if you connected with tonight's episode, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. It's going to be on our YouTube account. This is also going to be linked on the Instagram account, and all the information that we talked about here will also be linked there. So please go find it. Follow Brianna, follow Ruby, and then follow Lou Ann at her account. There's a little cameo over here. Jen Lipset. I wonder who that is. Anybody know who that is?
Oh my gosh.
Only the best surrogate ever.
Yes, absolutely.
The best two ladies in the world. I agree. We love you. Don't forget, Fertility Village Live will be live again next week, and our tea party is coming up on Saturday, June 22nd. Tickets are live for that, so please go get your tickets. It's going to be an amazing day. We get to wear fascinators. And if there's anything that you guys ever need, you know we're here at Fertility Village Live. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, Marissa.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.